permission to speak for yourself. Okay. So when is the last time people ask you to tell your story? Think about that. When's the last time people ask you and say, so what's your story? Okay? Big and small. Sometimes it's a life story. Sometimes it's a small point. What's your experience in, picking up a restaurant or something? In case, Paul was jailed because of his faith when he preached the gospel. And this time he has this opportunity to speak before the king, King Agrippa, okay, and all the high officials. And Agrippa says that, hey, the stage is yours. Okay? The stage is yours. And we will ask actually everybody here to come to the stage every one of the Sundays and say, hey, the stage is yours for 5-10 minutes. Okay, so be prepared for that. But this time it's like, sometimes this, just a pop-up. Situation just pop up. And Ephesians 6:15 says that with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. Our body, our feet, our minds want to be ready for the gospel. Okay? That's what Apostle says that. I remember when I was, this is like a long time ago, I have my 25th reunion of my college. So if you do the math, that would be a very long time ago, right? Okay, so on the 25th reunion, we actually, it's very surprisingly, we have a huge gathering, about 50 people. You can imagine I came from a big class, okay? And in the Bay Area, it has about 40 or 50 people there. And I was given 5 minutes to speak about myself, as well as all other classmates. They're given, 5 minutes to speak of yourself. And I was like, hey, I have to speak about myself for 5 minutes. What am I going to speak about? Okay, I got married. I have 3 lovely children, and this and that. But I have to talk about the most significant thing that happens in my life. I have to talk about I became a Christian. Okay? I became a Christian, and that is the most unthinkable thing for a lot of classmates that know me. Okay? Because my classmate knows that I'm kind of the most unruling people that doesn't go by the rule. I'm actually think different, out of the box kind of people. I'm the kind of person that doesn't fit their mind of what a Christian's supposed to be like, a typical Christian. Okay, but I have to say it. So opportunity will come that you need to get your stories prepared. Okay? The king and queens may ask you to get on the stage and say, what's your story? Okay? Or in a smaller sense, that your friend which is in need of a situation, and he or she wants to hear your story to help him or her. And do you have your story ready for that person? Right? Big stories and small stories, all needed in our all days of different walks of life and different situations. Are you ready for it? So the first thing is that we think about is just look at the verse 1. We found out that Paul was asked to speak for himself in front of all these people, in front of the high officials. Everybody, the king and queens, are quiet down to listen to him. And you will be given that opportunity as well. Okay, so that's the first thing. So, second thing, we talk about our story. We also want to know that what is our story so important? Why is the story so important? Um, well, first thing from telling people your opinion or tell about your story. Because nobody can argue with your story. They can always argue with your points, right? They will say, oh, I know you're Christian, you think that way. But you know what? I'm not a Christian. I think differently, which is fine, right? But you tell them that, I was a person that's full of anxiety, and to a point that I just cannot live a very healthy and strong life, and until that I know Jesus Christ, then He calms me down. I now have peace. He cannot say, no, you don't have peace. When you say, I have peace, he cannot argue against that. Right? He cannot say, oh, this is what you think. Well, that's what I really am. Things happen to me. Okay? And so your story is important because it is credible. It is only about what happened in you. If you tell the story truthfully, nobody can argue. Okay, so that's why it's very important. And second thing is that people actually are genuinely interested in your story. Okay. I mean, I've been here coming up and speak about Bible truth and all that, but most people only remember a couple stories I spoke of, isn't it? Because people are more interested in, whoa, so what happened to you? What happened to you exactly? I know there's a knowledge about things, and there's directions, and there's guidelines, but what about you? What happened to you? I want to know. I haven't seen you for a long time. What happened to you in your life? And so that's why the story is powerful. Your story is so powerful to them, and that's why we said that testimonies is important because it is convincing, it is interesting, and lastly, it is also relatable. It creates resonance. People resonate with your story. I also suffer loss. I also went through trial in life. My business has been in shambles, and I don't know how to pay bills. All these stories actually sometimes to know that you are not the only one in this world that suffers through this. So that's why the story become important. And you know what? I'm standing here, and sometimes people say, Pastor, don't every day just talk about Bible. Tell me more about your story. Okay. Well, I tried. Okay, but if you have to tell 50 stories a year for about 15 years, that's why you get a lot of repeated story from me, right? That's not exciting, right? That's why we have this thing that we want to invite every single one of you to come up and tell your story. Okay? You have a lot of story to tell, much more exciting than me. Okay? Not only that, honestly, it's probably much more relatable to most people here. Right? How many people growing up without a telephone? If I tell that story, you will say, "Oh, what is that?" You don't even have internet. Ooh, No, we don't even have electricity sometimes. Our parents came from that age, but yeah, that's why every generation needs to tell your own story, how God come to your life, and in your situation, how He changes you. How you went through a situation because God is with you. So why is the story important? We have those 3 points, and so we come to this point and we want to say, all right, I know there are situations I'm going to tell my story. I need to be prepared, and I know that story is powerful, important, and I want to prepare for it. But how? Okay, so we come to this point and use the remaining of the story of Paul, the Apostle Paul, and see how he organized when he called up on the stage, how he organized his story before he met Jesus. Okay. When he encountered Jesus, after he met Jesus. So that's the three parts. That's very easy. So in every situation in your life, you want to tell the story, and really want to tell the story to spread the gospel. You just remember those 3 points. What is the situation before I met Jesus? And what happened when I encountered Jesus? And what happened afterwards? That's it. Okay? Those 1, 2, 3. And let's go through what Paul did in the text and see if we can also construct our big and small stories. Okay? So the first one is, what is your life like before you met Jesus? So Apostle Paul says that, King Agrippa, you know that, those Jewish people want to kill me, but those Jewish people knew the way I lived ever since I was a child. I did not come from somewhere else, and all of a sudden, I figured out something and I started to preach to them, and that offended them. No, my life is an open book before them. And that's very different. Why your story is powerful? Because we know you. People know you. People know that some of the people know you from very young. A lot of people know each other here since high school, right? We all remember vividly how high school, he is that kind of person and she is that kind of personality, and look at, where he or she has become, or still in the process of changing to. And that is what Paul says that, this is what I was. I was before those Jewish people who wanted to kill me at this moment. And they know they all know the way I have lived ever since I was a child, from the beginning of my life, and in my own country, and also in Jerusalem. Okay, he is from Tarsus, and he went to Jerusalem in different times, and he stayed there a long time, and they have known me for a long time and can testify if they are willing. Talk about he was convinced that he needs to do everything possible to oppose the name of Jesus the Nazareth. A person that not serious about things. What my faith says. And so he set it up and started to say that this is who I was before I met Jesus. As a matter of fact, I was putting people in jail. Okay, I was putting people in jail so that the Christian can be put away, even sometimes executed, because of my faith, my belief. This is who I was. Okay? This is who I was. And it's like, I remember when I was in that testimony, I was in that reunion, and we're talking about, hey, guys, you all know me, okay? Joseph, okay? I mean, the one who never showed up in class, okay? And the one, have all the stories, and we, you know who I was. I was the one who trying to seek something different from being offered. Okay, I'm more of not the ordinary person. You know who I was. I don't want to be binded. I don't want to lose the freedom of exploration of my life. I want to go on my own and find the best and most beautiful, most true things in the world. Okay. This is the same thing. That's how we set up our story, is that you truly think about this situation, who you were, okay? And also, people know that I smoked. That I